Battle of Río Salado, fought on October 30th, 1340, was a turning point in the centuries-long Reconquista. It was not just another border skirmish, but a massive confrontation between Christian Castile and Portugal, led by King Alfonso II and King Afonso IV, against the Marinid Sultanate of Morocco and the Nasrid Emirate of Granada. The armies met near Tarifa, a strategic port on the Strait of Gibraltar, a gateway long contested by North African powers. For the Marinids, led by Abu al-Hasan Ali, the battle was a chance to re-establish Muslim dominance in Spain. For the Christian kingdoms, defeat could have reversed generations of hard-won gains. The terrain, plains crossed by the Salado River, would shape the day's events. Both sides saw the conflict as a holy war, Christians as crusaders reclaiming lost lands, Muslims as defenders of Islam. Religious fervor made compromise impossible. Only total victory would suffice. We'll explore the ambitions, strategies, and consequences of this epic clash. The Battle of Río Salado would become known as the last great holy war of the Iberian Peninsula. The Reconquista was a centuries-long campaign by Christian kingdoms to reclaim Iberia from Muslim rule. By the 14th century, only Granada remained, surviving through tribute and North African support. The Marinid dynasty of Morocco emerged as the main external threat, seeking to control the Strait of Gibraltar and revive the glory of past empires. Unlike Granada's emirs, the Marinid sultans commanded vast armies and resources, launching full-scale invasions rather than mere raids. Their campaigns kept Castile's southern frontier in constant peril. Political instability in Castile gave the Marinids opportunities to strike. King Alfonso II, after consolidating his rule, recognized that only a decisive battle could end the Marinid threat. Defensive garrisons were not enough. The Christians needed to secure the strait for good. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of Iberia. The coming battle would decide whether Christian advances would endure or be swept away. The road to Río Salado began with the Marinid capture of Gibraltar in 1333, emboldening Sultan Abu al-Hasan to plan a massive invasion. He built a formidable fleet and army, aiming to crush Castilian power and establish a Marinid province in Spain. Alarmed, King Alfonso V of Castile sought an alliance with his estranged father-in-law, King Afonso IV of Portugal. Despite personal grievances, the looming threat forced them to unite, with Maria of Portugal mediating between them. Alfonso II also appealed to Pope Benedict XIV, who granted financial and spiritual support, framing the conflict as a crusade. Knights from across Europe joined the Christian cause, drawn by the promise of holy war. On the Muslim side, Yusuf I of Granada allied with the Marinids, needing their military strength to survive. In 1339, the Marinid fleet destroyed a Castilian fleet, securing control of the strait and enabling the invasion. By 1340, Abu al-Hasan's army crossed into Spain, joining forces with Granada. The Christian and Muslim alliances were now fully committed. The stage was set for a decisive showdown. All of Iberia braced for the coming storm. The fate of the peninsula hung in the balance. The armies marched toward Tarifa, where history would be made. Sultan Abu al-Hasan's first target was Tarifa, a fortress crucial for controlling the Strait of Gibraltar. In September 1340, the Marinid Nasrid army besieged the town, hoping to secure a base for further conquest. The Castilian garrison, led by Juan Alfonso de Benavides, held out against overwhelming odds. The siege was brutal, with relentless assaults and bombardments, but the defenders refused to yield. News of the siege galvanized Alfonso II, who began marching south with his army. He promised the garrison relief, turning Tarifa into a symbol of Christian resistance. The siege forced the Christian and Portuguese armies to unite for a decisive battle. As the Christian army approached, Abu al-Hasan abandoned the siege, choosing to face his enemies in open battle. He positioned his forces along the Río Salado, confident in his numbers and defensive ground. The Christians prepared for a direct assault, knowing the fate of Iberia rested on the outcome. The confrontation at Tarifa became the catalyst for the epic clash to come. Both sides readied themselves for a battle that would decide the future of the peninsula. The armies faced each other across the Salado, each determined to prevail. The decisive moment had arrived. The armies at Rio Salado reflected years of military evolution. The Marinid Nasrid force, possibly 50,000 strong, included elite North African cavalry, Berber light horsemen, and Granadan veterans. The Christian army, though outnumbered at around 25,000, was highly disciplined, featuring Castilian heavy cavalry, military orders, and Portuguese knights. Abu al-Hasan deployed his troops defensively along the river, using the terrain to his advantage. Granadan forces held the left flank, Marinids the center and right. The plan let the Christians struggle across the river, then counterattack with superior numbers. Alfonso VII and Afonso IV devised a bold frontal assault, dividing their army into several divisions. The vanguard, led by the Lara brothers, would secure a crossing. The Portuguese targeted the Granadan flank, while a special detachment aimed to strike the Marinid camp. Both sides prepared for a battle that would test their resolve and tactics. The fate of Iberia would be decided by the clash of these two great forces. On October 30th, 1340, the Christian army advanced, banners flying and spirits high. Crossing the swollen Rio Salado proved difficult, with the vanguard pinned by Muslim archers. King Alfonso II led his men personally, inspiring a surge that broke through the first Marinid line. The center became a brutal melee with knights and infantry locked in desperate combat. On the right, Afonso IV's Portuguese knights charged the Granadan flank, initially gaining ground. Yusuf I counterattacked fiercely, threatening to overwhelm the Portuguese. Sensing danger, Alfonso II sent elite reinforcements to stabilize the flank. The timely arrival of Castilian knights turned the tide, allowing the Christians to push back the Granadans. The Christian line held firm, and the main assault pressed forward. The battle hung in the balance, with both sides fighting for survival. The next move would determine victory or defeat. The turning point came when a Christian detachment, led by the Archbishop of Toledo and the Master of Santiago, struck the Marinid camp from the rear. The surprise attack caused panic among the Muslim ranks, as soldiers saw their camp overrun and feared for their leaders. Morale collapsed. Units broke and fled, abandoning the fight. Sultan Abu al-Hasan, caught off guard, tried to rally his troops but was forced to flee. His flight signaled total defeat, and the Marinid Nasrid army disintegrated. The Christians pursued relentlessly, cutting down fleeing soldiers. The river, once a defensive barrier, became a deadly trap for the retreating Marinids. Yusuf I managed to escape with some forces, but the Marinid army was destroyed. The battlefield was strewn with the dead and the spoils of victory. The Christian triumph was absolute. The victory at Rio Salado was decisive. The Marinid army was annihilated, and Sultan Abu al-Hasan's ambitions in Spain were shattered. The defeat triggered instability in Morocco and ended the threat of large-scale North African invasions. The Christians seized immense booty and prisoners, sending gifts to the Pope and European allies. Alfonso II's reputation soared, and the Strait of Gibraltar was secured for Christendom. The initiative in the Reconquista shifted permanently to the Christians. Alfonso II quickly besieged and captured Algeciras, closing the main gateway for African intervention. Granada, now isolated, could no longer rely on Marinid support and was forced into a defensive posture. The path to the eventual fall of Granada in 1492 began at Rio Salado. The battle's outcome reshaped the balance of power in Iberia. The Reconquista entered its final phase. Rio Salado is remembered as the last great holy war of the Reconquista. It marked the end of large-scale Muslim invasions and the era of pan-European crusades in Iberia. After 1340, the conflict became a Castilian project, focused on state-building rather than religious crusade. Alfonso VII and Afonso IV emerged as legendary heroes, securing their kingdom's frontiers and shaping their nation's futures. The battle confirmed Christian dominance and set the stage for the unification of Spain and Portugal. The defeat ended any realistic hope of a Muslim reconquest of Spain. Río Salado's legacy defined Iberia's religious and political identity for centuries. The clash closed the chapter on the great holy wars of medieval Spain.